Bring me the vineyard owner. The voice sliced through the crisp morning air like a blade. I was halfway up the hill, checking the last rows of my Cabernet Sauvignon grapes, when I heard it again, louder this time, dripping with that self-entitled sharpness that can sour even the sweetest day. She stood at the end of the gravel path, one hand on her hip, the other waving as if she were summoning a servant. Tall, bleached blonde hair twisted into a tight bun, oversized designer sunglasses, and a pastel sweater knotted over her shoulders. Every inch of her screamed HOA royalty. The irony, of course, was that there is no HOA here. This was my land. All of it. From her vantage point, she saw nothing but vineyard rows and the terracotta roofs of my farmhouse. She had no idea that the rolling fields, the winery, and the valley beyond had belonged to my family for generations. I took my time walking down, letting the crunch of my boots on gravel stretch between us. She didn't bother with introductions. You, she snapped. You work here, right? Go get the vineyard owner immediately. I have an urgent complaint. I raised an eyebrow. Complaint? Yes, she huffed, adjusting her sunglasses. My friends and I bought homes in the Cypress Hills Estates development up the road. We have standards. Your workers have been starting tractors at 6 in the morning, and the smell of fertilizer drifts onto our patios. It's unacceptable. Her tone was theatrical, as if she'd rehearsed the speech for an audience. I noticed her perfectly manicured nails, the shimmer of diamond rings, and the faint wrinkle of disgust on her face as she glanced at the dirt on my jeans. You're trespassing, I said evenly. No, she fired back. I'm doing my civic duty. If your boss won't comply with HOA noise regulations, I'll be forced to escalate. I'm well connected. I'll make calls. The audacity was almost admirable. For a moment, I considered blurting it out to watch her expression shatter when she realized who she was talking to. But no, it would be far more satisfying to let her dig her own hole first. All right, I said, hiding a grin. Why don't you tell me exactly what you want changed? She straightened, sensing victory. I want a meeting this afternoon with the owner. And trust me, when I'm done, he'll regret crossing me. If only she knew. The meeting be the time the clock in my farmhouse kitchen hit 3. I had everything set for our little appointment. I didn't call in staff or unlock the polished conference room at the winery office. Instead, I chose the long wooden harvest table on my back patio, the one overlooking the valley stretching endlessly in both directions. Karen arrived right on time, heels clicking across the flagstone. She wasn't alone. 2 women followed her, dressed like they'd stepped straight out of a luxury lifestyle ad. Silk blouses, oversized sunglasses, and an aura of quiet judgment. Where's the owner? Karen demanded, before she'd even crossed the threshold. You're looking at him, I said, motioning them toward the chairs. They hesitated, exchanging confused glances. Karen's mouth curled into a condescending smile. Oh, I see. The manager, she waved a dismissive hand. Fine, call your employer. I don't have one, I replied calmly. My family has owned this land for 3 generations. The vineyard, the winery, the whole valley. Her smile twitched. The whole valley? From those hills to the river, I said, pointing beyond the vines. Every building, every row of grapes, every stretch of land you can see. Her entourage fell silent. Karen, however, held her ground. Well, regardless of ownership, we have an HOA responsible for maintaining quality of life standards. Noise from machinery, smells, these things disrupt the community. I leaned back. Your community didn't exist 10 years ago. My tractors have run at 6 a.m. since my grandfather's time. Grapes don't wait for convenient hours. Karen crossed her arms. I'm not asking for much. Just delay the start times, cut back on fertilizer, and risk losing my harvest. I cut in. This valley feeds dozens of families, keeps workers employed year-round, and supports a business that predates your HOA by decades. I'm not changing how we operate because a few new homeowners don't like farm life. Her cheeks flushed, but she pressed on. If you refuse, I'll bring this to the county board. I can be very persuasive. I gave her a faint smile. So can I. Silence stretched between us, broken only by the buzz of bees drifting through the lavender. She didn't realize it yet, but she'd started a battle she could never win. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, day after our so-called meeting, I was sipping coffee on the patio when Karen's white SUV rolled slowly up the gravel road again. This time, she had company. A man in a suit sat in the passenger seat, scribbling notes on a clipboard. I decided to greet them before they could barge up to my door. I walked out to meet them beside a row of sun-warmed Merlot grapes. Morning. I called out. Karen didn't waste a second. This is Mr. Benson from the HOA board. He's here to document the violations so we can file a formal complaint. Mr. Benson offered a curt nod. Noise levels, agricultural smells, and visual impact. Some residents are concerned that the Vineyard equipment is unsightly. I had to choke back a laugh. You moved to wine country, I said, and now you're shocked by wine country? Karen bristled. We moved here for the scenery, not industrial-grade noise at dawn or manure stench ruining our brunches. Industrial? I echoed, glancing at the small tractor parked by the barn. That's a 60-horsepower vintage Massey Ferguson. Same model my father used. Hardly a factory. Benson cleared his throat. Still, the board has the right to request changes if, I cut him off gently. The board has jurisdiction over your neighborhood, not my land. I'm outside your HOA boundaries by a full mile. Karen's jaw tightened. That doesn't mean we can't apply pressure through other channels. True, I said. But here's the thing, those channels work both ways. She blinked, confused. I gestured down the road. The only access route to Cypress Hills Estates runs straight through my property. The easement exists because my grandfather signed it. If I withdrew it, the county would have to create a new entrance. That could take years, Mr. Benson's pen froze mid-scribble. Karen's smug expression flickered for the first time. Are you threatening us? She demanded. Not at all, I said with a pleasant smile. Just explaining the lay of the land. Literally, you want to bring in the county? Fine, let's involve them. But understand the full picture before you start that fight. Benson shifted uncomfortably, clearly wishing he'd stayed home. But Karen still wasn't ready to surrender. This isn't over, she snapped, turning sharply. No, murmured as they drove off. It's just getting started. And in that moment, I knew exactly how to end this feud on my terms with something she'd never see coming. The Harvest Festival. 2 days later, the valley burst with life. Trucks rolled in carrying crates, musicians unloaded gear, and long wooden tables were set beneath strands of white lights. It was time for my annual Harvest Festival, and this year, it was going to be the biggest one yet. The festival wasn't just a tradition, it was a statement, a celebration of the harvest, a gathering for workers, neighbors, visitors filling the valley with music, laughter, and the aroma of roasting lamb. And best of all, it was perfectly legal. I made sure invitations went everywhere. Wineries from nearby counties, local artisans, musicians, and food vendors. Everyone was welcome. Even the new homeowners of Cypress Hills Estates received glossy invitations hand-delivered. By noon, excitement buzzed through the air. Cars lined the road, vendors sold fresh bread and honey, and kids darted between vine rows with sticky hands and bright smiles. The hum of tractors, the scent of crushed grapes, it was wine country at its finest. And then she arrived. Karen stepped out of her SUV like she was entering enemy territory. Gone was the pastel sweater. In its place, a stiff white blouse, as if formality might shield her from the chaos around her. She spotted me at the main tasting table, pouring glasses for guests. What is this? She snapped, her voice slicing through the music. Harvest Festival, I said cheerfully. We've done it for years. Thought I'd make it extra special this time. Open for the whole valley. This is outrageous, she hissed. Cars are parked along our road. People are wandering near our properties. It's a disturbance. I swept a hand toward the festival buzzing around us. Funny, everyone else seems to be enjoying themselves. This isn't enjoyment, she snapped. It's an invasion. You call it an invasion, I said, leaning slightly closer. But I call it heritage. These sights, these smells, these sounds, the very things you've been trying to silence. This is why people move here. Her gaze darted to the crowd, county officials sampling wine, the local press taking photos, musicians strumming under twinkling lights. She realized maybe for the first time that she wasn't just fighting me. She was up against an entire community, and she looked rattled. But the best part of my plan? That was still to come. The Mayoras, the harvest festival rolled into golden hour. The sky turned streaks of rose and amber. Lanterns swayed in the warm breeze. Music drifted over the vines. And the valley pulsed with life. I watched Karen weave through the crowd, scanning faces, clearly hunting for someone in power. She found him. She marched straight up to Mayor Caldwell, who was holding a glass of my Syrah. I caught the moment. She began whispering urgently. The mayor listened, then glanced over at me with an expression somewhere between amusement and disbelief. Minutes later, he crossed the lawn to join me. She says you're disturbing the peace. He laughed. I reminded her that without your vineyard, this town's economy would be a shadow of itself. I appreciate that. Mayor, I said. Karen must have sensed the conversation wasn't going her way, because she stormed over, heels sinking in the grass. You can't host events like this without HOA approval. She barked, loud enough to draw stares. That's the thing, Karen, I replied calmly. Your HOA ends at your property line. Swept my arm toward the glowing valley. All of it is mine. Her jaw tightened, but I wasn't finished. You've been trying to control the noise, the smells, the essence of this valley. But what you don't realize is that this isn't just a vineyard. It's a network of businesses, homes, and land. And I own every acre, which means your entire development sits in the middle of my valley. Her face twitched. I could double the number of festivals if I wanted. Plant new rows right up to your back fence. You're bluffing, she whispered, without a word. I pulled a folded survey map from my pocket, the official county record, signed and sealed. I placed it in her hands. She scanned the boundaries, and I watched. The exact moment reality hit her, she froze. The music blared behind us. People laughed and danced. Lanterns glowed, but for Karen, everything stopped. I leaned in. So next time you think about marching onto my land to make demands, remember this valley has one owner, and you're speaking to him. Karen didn't say another word. She turned, walked to her SUV, and drove into the sunset. The music swelled. The lights shimmered. And the valley was mine again. If you think HOA Karen got exactly what she deserved, smash that like button. Tell me in the comments how you deal with a neighbor like this. And don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping real-life showdowns you won't want to miss.